In this video, I want to go over how to enter a trade with a stop, right? You would want a stop if you want to set a maximum amount of money that you're willing to lose on a trade, right? And what you're going to do is if you have to spend $1,000 to get into a trade for 10 contracts, but the most you're willing to lose is 200, then you would set a stop loss at 20%, which means if you lose 20% of 1,000, which is $200, it would take you out of the trade automatically. And the reason we want to trade with stop losses is because a lot of the times when people get into trading, they get into a trade, they're losing a ton of money, and they just keep the trade open, hoping that it's going to turn around and make them their money back and make them a profit, right? But that's how a lot of people blow their accounts because they just wait and wait and wait when there was a clear signal on the chart or in the candles technical analysis that told you to get out and that you were wrong, right? Like in trading, you are going to be wrong and you have to accept that. And because of that, it's good to have stop losses because it will do that smart work for you. It will stop you out at a certain point when you're wrong instead of letting you and your psychology allow you to sit in that trade and just keep losing money, right? Hoping that it's going to turn around. So that's why we use stop losses. So if we were going to enter into a call, and again, we're buying calls and buying puts. So in this case, let's say for Coca-Cola, we want to buy a call, right? So what you would do is when you hover over these contract prices, you see that it says buy. So always make sure that that's what you see. If you see sell, that means that you're selling the call, which leads to unlimited losses, right? There's no maximum to what you can lose if you sell a call or a put. So that's why we stick to buying, because the most we can lose is whatever we put into the trade, okay? So what you do to set up the trade with a stop loss is figure out the strike price that you want to get into, find the contract price, right click, buy custom with stop, and then you get this menu down here, right? So what you want to do is figure out how many contracts you want to buy. Each contract you buy is going to be 100 times the cost of the contract for one contract will be 100 times whatever this price is. So in this case, one contract at this strike price for a call is going to be $10. So let's say I want to risk $100. I would buy 10 of these contracts, which is already pre-filled. But always double check this because this usually puts like a higher number than you probably want to enter. So you always want to adjust this first. Then you want to come over here and click this little anchor or link icon and then click the plus or minus twice until you see a percentage, right? Then in the percentage, put in what percentage you're willing to lose. So if this contract is going to cost me $100 and I'm willing to lose $50, then that's going to be 50% because 50 is 50% of $100. So I would put 50 here. And then I would click confirm and send. And as you can see, the maximum amount I can lose is $100. That's because that's how much it's costing me to buy 10 contracts at this strike price. But because I'm entering a stop loss at the same time, I have the stop loss set to where I can only lose half of what the contract is worth. So if 10 contracts cost me $100, when those contracts go down to where they're losing half of the value, now that means that the 10 contracts are worth $50 total. And at that point, the stop loss, which is this right here, would take me out of the trade. So I wouldn't actually lose 100, even though it does say max loss of $100. I'm limiting my max loss to half of what I put in. So to enter that, you would click send, and then it would do that for you, right? And then it'll get in the trade. And if the contract loses half of its value, or the 10 contracts lose half of their value, you're going to get taken out, and you're just going to take a $50 loss plus the commission fee of like $6.50, right? So I'm going to close that. I entered in a trade like that earlier just to show because I was trying to record a video before, but I bought one contract of Microsoft and it was at $1.09 per contract. So in that case, the total amount that I put in was $109, right? 100 times 1 times 1.09, okay? And what I did was I put a 10% stop loss because it was just a test. So I wasn't trying to lose a ton of money. I wasn't even looking at the chart when I did it. It was just a test to make this video. And what happened was price went down. The price of the contract went down to 97 cents. So that was around 10% of the 109. So 109, 10% of that is $11 if you round up, right? So once it went down by 10, 11%, it took me out of the trade at 97 cents. So the contract was worth 97 cents when it took me out. And because of that, I only lost $12. But if I had no stop loss, I could have just let it run. And if it went totally against me, I would have lost $109. So that's why I'm saying you need to figure out what your risk tolerance is per trade, right? If you're entering $1,000 or $10,000 in a trade, but you're only actually willing to lose 1,000, then put your stop loss at 10%. I typically suggest, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but in my opinion, I think anywhere from 20 to 40% is okay, depending on how much you're putting into the trade, right? So if you're putting in 1,000, you're willing to risk 200, 20% is good. If you're putting in 10,000 and you're only willing to risk like 500 or 1,000, then your stop loss is going to be a different percentage. So always before entering a trade, figure out what the most you're willing to lose is, and then set up your stop loss and how many contracts you buy based on that number, so that you never lose more money than you expected to lose, or that you were okay with losing.